Hail Satire with Vic Shetty. Hail Satire with Vic Shetty. Jazz with Vic
Hello and welcome. My name is Vic Shetty. It is Sunday night. We're recording live from the University of Houston Coug Radio Studios, and we got some funny stuff for you tonight. It is almost Halloween, and so I thought it fit to bring the scariest guy I know into the studio.
I'm the scariest guy you know?
Yeah, I don't know that many people, but you frighten me. You're a different kind of fear, though. You're not like a ghoul. You're just.
Let me tell you something. The only thing that ever scared me was myself.
I got Scott White in the studio. He's a favorite at Comedy Sports Houston. He is a stand-up who's toured literally the globe.
Yes.
Which always that's amazing. I'm so glad you're here, Scott, because I do want to I want to unravel the mystery that is you. Okay, because you're an enigma. I've known you for
wrapped in a vest.
You're wrapped in a vest. There you go. Okay, so you're not from Texas by nature, right?
I'm from Michigan.
You're from Michigan, yeah. Yes. Detroit.
Outside of Detroit.
Outside Detroit. All right. Tell me about growing up. What were your parents like?
My mother was a housewife. She stayed home. She took care of me and my sister. My dad was a Ford man his entire life, so he built cars.
Oh wow! So that's the car capital right
there.
Yeah,
it was when my dad worked there. My dad worked at Ford when it was something to work at Ford, and he has excellent health benefits and all that. So he got all that while he was working at Ford. So I'm happy about that because he just turned 89 yesterday.
Oh, wow! Good for him, man.
Yeah.
Clap, clap.
People say, do you hope, if your dad lived to 89, you're probably going to live to 89. I'm like, oh, God, I hope not.
Do you have any siblings?
I have one sister. She's a year younger. She's back in Michigan.
Oh, what's Sheila? What's her name?
Brenda.
What's Brenda like?
Brender's a Kennedy.
You sound like Steph Wagner.
We got some Jamba Juice with Brenda. She's quiet. She's shy. And I'm quiet and shy myself. People are always amazed, people that I went to high school with or grew up with, that I'm a stand-up comedian. Because I was very quiet and very introverted throughout high school and all that. So,
what were your interests when you were younger? Were you a film dude? Were you into comedy already?
I wasn't into comedy. I liked film. Comic books was a big thing for me.
Oh, Spider-Man. Okay. You're a Marvel guy?
I am a Marvel guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I like superheroes in general, but I'll bend towards the Marvel side.
Sure. Who's your favorite superhero?
Spider-Man, yeah.
Do you like the Sam Raimi adaptations, as it turns out?
I didn't. The ones that I the
original three, and then they've done two more.
Well, the fact that he, had natural spider webs at the I didn't care for that because that wasn't part of it. Mm-hmm. 1 and 2, I thought 1 and 2 were very good movies, and 3, I went off the rails.
Yeah, they just added more and more villains. That was always the problem.
I think that's how they feel. This, if we add more, it'll get better.
Yeah, if you can do the Spider-Man's in the middle, you have 8 villains on the side of him. It's gonna be a great movie.
But no, I was a big comic book superhero fan growing up, and I played Dungeons and Dragons growing up. So
really? Oh my God, I've never. That is a complicated game, it seems.
It isn't. It is. If it's not that complicated, you can grasp it and all that. But
now, was this in the era when that was kind of stigmatized, where if you were playing Dungeons and Dragons, you were a fucking nerd?
No, this was in the era when it was new.
Okay.
When it first came out, so
Gary Gygax, right?
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't a cliche yet.
Okay. So you were into the fantasy whole thing?
Yeah.
Did you ever draw? Was that a thing?
No, I can't. I'm left-handed, so I can't draw.
Left-handed means you're creative, though. That's the gimme point.
I can't draw. I have no artistic ability.
No. So what appealed to you about them? Were the stories? What would you grab onto?
The stories. Just the fact that you could do anything. and get anything done.
Do you want that in your everyday life?
Not that I could do anything, just that I could do something. Just that I can get some shit accomplished.
You'd be a superhero if you can get breakfast.
I would be a superhero so I could avoid traffic. That's what I would use my superhero powers for.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, be caught on I-10 at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. So you spent your high school years reading comics. Did you ever perform? Was that ever a thing?
No, I didn't perform until I moved to Houston. I didn't perform until I was in 28 or 29.
Wow.
I was old when I started.
Wow. Did you go to college?
Eastern Michigan University.
What'd you major in?
Telecommunication and film. So I was a radio disc jockey on our...
You did this yourself?
I did this myself.
How am I doing, Scott?
You're doing very well. Doing very well.
What was your station like? I know these are always just like the rundowningest things.
It was pretty... our station we were bad. We used carts.
Yeah.
And reel-to-reel.
Oh, yeah. That's a complicated process.
Records.
Yeah.
So
we do have a record player, but
I see you do have a record player. But the commercials were on carts.
Yeah. Could you do this by yourself? Do you have a producer? Were you doing everything yourself?
No, you could do it by yourself.
Okay. What was your show about? What would you play?
It was like little comedy skits in between records. We didn't have a lot of freedom. We had to play certain songs every hour, and then you had to play certain songs every hour.
Like pop songs?
Yes, but then you would have there would be like you could play what you wanted at the end of the hour, the last 15 minutes or what, like the first 45 minutes of the hour, you had to play certain songs.
Okay.
The first 15 minutes was open, so whatever they had in stock. It looked like WKRP.
Yeah, in Cincinnati.
All the records around, and this was a little before CDs too. Mm-hmm. So it was mainly records, and we you couldn't and reel to reel. So, and we had to learn how to edit reel to reels, like with the razor blade and put and mark it with chalk and cut it. And,
yeah,
and
you're talking about dinosaurs here. I've never even seen a reel.
Yes, all the stuff, and I feel kind of gypped because all the stuff I used in college, learned in college, totally obsolete. Totally obsolete. I learned it's like I might have as well as gone to college to learn the fucking loom because that's how out of date the stuff that I learned is now. You could run a radio station with a computer, with a laptop.
Yeah, it's a whole different game,
yes.
And it'll change for me in 10 years.
Yes.
It'll be all in your hand. Whatever. Tell me about the comedy skits. Did you do them by yourself? Were they just like disc jockey banter?
It was just disc jockey banter and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I never developed the fake. Never developed that.
You have that though. You could do that.
If you Bob and Tom, if you listen to Bob and Tom, they have developed it.
Yeah. That seems like that'd be something that'd kill you.
It would kill me if I had to
laughing
do that
is not-
every morning. Just pretend that somebody's funny.
The morning zoo. That's
the morning zoo.
Yeah. And you. I mean, we're jumping ahead here, but you're a stand-up comedian. You've probably done some morning zoo shit.
I've done radio shows. Yes, I've done to promote my upcoming shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than a disc jockey that wants to be funnier than the comedian.
Yeah.
Where they're battling you for the laughs. It's like, buddy, come on.
Yeah, trying to upstage a comedian's never a good idea.
Right.
Not nice either. It's not a kind thing
Well,
to do.
it's not. Yeah, it's not professional.
Yeah.
I'm here to promote the show. I mean, the club is paying your station to bring me in, not to listen to you.
Yeah.
I've always, whenever there's been a scandal and somebody's been on tape and they said, well, the tape was taken out of context, I always thought they were full of crap. But one time this happened to me, I was in a radio station and I went on and and I did my shtick and all that and did what had to be done, and I went off on a tangent and we were done. They're like, okay, that's great. And on the way back, I was listening to it, and they cut it, and it made me look like I was bad-mouthing the people it was Wichita. It made me look like I was bad-mouthing the people of Wichita.
Wow.
Which was wrong, but So now when anybody says, well, it was edited or taken out of context, I give them a little bit benefit of the doubt because it has happened to me.
Yeah.
Not on a small level and all that. So.
Were you doing a show in Wichita?
Yeah.
And they did that?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, some lame band from the 80s was in town. And I forget what it was. And they were... And I just went off on them. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? If if they can't come here to Wichita, you bring those tickets. And they cut all that out. And the way they cut it, they made me sound like I was bad mouthing Wichita.
Wow.
So
that is. How did this show go? Did you get
the
hostile
show's
crowds?
went fine. Yeah.
I heard you.
Yes.
On KUHBAT.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's horrible. Well, okay, I want to go back to college. So, when you went to college for telecommunications, what did you want to do?
I wanted to be a disc jockey.
You wanted to be a disc jockey.
I wanted to be a disc jockey during the week and maybe do comedy on the weekend.
Okay.
But when you realize you can't, if you stay in town and do comedy, you're the house MC.
Yeah.
And the house MCs are usually disc jockeys that come up.
Hometown heroes
and stuff like that. You can't stay in town and be a full-time stand-up comic. Sure. You have to travel.
There's only so many clubs in a town.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the game, nature of the beast.
Yeah.
So I had to get out there. So I moved from Michigan to Houston, and then I started doing stand-up.
Why Houston? What made you choose?
I had a buddy that came down here,
okay.
So I came with him, and the family has adopted me, so I'm Uncle Scott now. I was actually at a birthday party this afternoon with these people.
Oh,
so
happy birthday to who?
Michael. Michael is 3.
Well, happy birthday, Michael.
Yes.
Good day to be 3.
Yes.
Now, give me some time from here, because was this when Hicks and Kinnison are in Houston?
No. This is they've already gone.
Uh-huh.
They've already made it.
Mm-hmm. Is Hicks still alive?
I believe Hicks is dead by this time.
He died in 94.
In 94?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, because I didn't get here until 99.
Okay.
Maybe 98.
Right.
97, 98. So Hicks was dead by the time I got here.
Late 90s.
All the outlaw comic annex, all that was gone.
Yeah.
By the time I got here.
So what was the scene like when you got to Houston?
When I got here, the scene was great.
Okay.
We had open mics. We had 3 clubs that at 4 clubs, 3 or 4 clubs. You could play all 3 clubs in town. The Laugh Stop, when I first got here, had a rockin' open mic. That's where I cut my teeth.
Yeah.
Doing the open mic at the Laugh Stop, and that's when I got my first gig. My first gig, I emceed for Adam Ferrara.
Oh, I do know the name.
Yes. So that was my first gig.
Cool.
And but now we have. Now comedy has dwindled in Houston. There's open mics around here and stuff like that, and one-nighters. But we have the Improv, and then we have the Joke Joint.
Yeah.
It used to be the Comedy Show.
Steve Padilla's place. I think. I don't know. Well, I know there's the defensive driving plate that's like on the weekends it does defensive driving.
Yes, that's the Joke Joint.
There you go, Joke Joint. Well, yeah. So tell me about your early days. How'd you start? Like doing stand-up, you just get up there with ideas and you riff on it? Did you have it all really scripted out?
I didn't have it scripted out. Well, we'll back up. I did do stand-up back in Michigan. For a contest, but I didn't want to do it alone.
Uh-huh.
And I brought in a friend, and we did a comedy team.
Buddy stuff.
Buddy stuff. And it went, for the first time we did it, it went great.
Yeah?
We advanced. Now, I'm new. I think we got to do another 5 new minutes. So in a week, I tried to write 5 new minutes, and we just died. We just died.
Yeah. Because it was just too fast?
It was the material was horrible. It was to write and perform a new 5 minutes in 6 days.
Yeah.
To a novice, that was it. So we just died.
What kind of stuff was it? Was it scene work or was it just back and forth talking?
It was both.
Uh-huh.
It was back and forth talking. It was scene work. There was some props involved. So.
That was big for a time. You watch those HBO like Night at the Improv things, and you have teams that just like, what's this thing?
Yes. And so that sort of scared me off for a while. So
Yeah.
I didn't do stand-up again until I moved to Houston.
Oh wow. How long's the gap between?
Maybe 4 or 5 years.
Wow. Were you wanting to get back into it, or were you just resigning like, that didn't work out?
No, I wanted to get back into it. And once I was in Houston, I was by myself, so I needed something to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that. And gradually, I found out I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So I just kept going. So started as an MC, and then you move up to feature, and then I moved up to headliner.
Yeah. That's what's the relationship with the older comics when you're a new guy in the pool? You're talking to the headliners and the features.
Well, when you're the older guy, I prefer when I work. I prefer having younger people in front of me because they're probably not going to do the same material as I do.
Sure, that makes sense.
I don't like it when younger comics come up to me as the headliner and start doing shtick, start doing their bits. It's just like, no, don't.
Yeah.
I'm a person. I don't want to
judge your material.
No, yeah. I don't want to hear your stuff. So if you come up to me and just go right into a bit, I'm going to shut you down.
Yeah.
I mean, not shut you down, but I'm going to shut you out. It's just like, okay, I have no need for you.
Yeah. So, talk to me about you went from the young guy to the headliner now. What's it like headlining? You tour around the globe. Where have you been?
I've done some military tours with Lone Wolf Entertainment. I've been to Iraq.
Wow.
I have been to Korea and Japan and Guam.
Wow. What is it like when you're on a military tour?
They appreciate it. It bothers me when they come up to me and they say thank you for coming. It's just like no, thank you. That just really bothers me. It's just like I'm here for 10 days telling dick jokes. You're here for a long time, and
getting your dick blown
off. So they always say when you go on a military tour, they're like, "Oh, don't get too." These are soldiers. It's like I'm not going to offend soldiers. I'm not playing to a bunch of nuns. They're soldiers who are in war. They can they can handle my cum stain jokes.
Now, are you playing like makeshift stages? Like how?
Oh yeah, fobs, which I'm not really. I probably should know what that is, but there's fobs, where they would take us in a helicopter out into the middle of nowhere. This fob, and there was maybe 30 or 40 people at there, and it was makeshift. We'd play in the dining hall or in the workout room, and it was totally. Some of them they had big stages and stuff like that. But some of them, and those were the most gratifying, the ones out in the middle of nowhere, because these guys just really appreciated somebody coming out there and see. Now, I will say that one time I was there with a couple other comics, and then all of a sudden the Atlanta Falcon cheerleader showed up. And, we were pretty much pushed
Get off the stage!
Yes, get off.
Now, I imagine the fear of... Are they a generous audience? Soldiers, like, you don't want to do badly in front of these guys.
No, they are a generous audience.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of that has to do with they're just happy for entertainment. But then again, you can't phone it into. You want to do good for these guys.
Sure.
You want to, not that you shouldn't want to do your best for every show, but with these guys, it's extra special.
Yeah.
It's like, these guys are out there putting it on the line. I want to make sure that these guys walk away happy.
Yeah. Are you doing, like, the best of? Are you trying new stuff? Do you...
I do the best of, but then something... you always like to throw in stuff that's relevant to them.
Sure.
Stuff about the base or where they're at, stuff like that. Little stuff like that.
Yeah.
I appreciate too.
Sure. And I know you mentioned this on the Comedy Sports page or something, but you're a great crowd work guy. You do a lot of crowd work.
I tried to avoid crowd work.
Really?
Actually.
Oh, okay. My bad.
But I can do crowd work. Actually, I just received a clip from my last jaunt in Toronto, where it's a clip for me. It's a clip me doing crowd work with this woman going back and forth. I prefer not to do crowd work. I prefer just to do my show
Well, why is that? Why don't you like doing crowd work?
Well, it's not okay. It's not that I don't like doing crowd work. Maybe it's safer not doing crowd work. I know my act,
Sure.
and I know my act pretty well. Now, I will say that, but crowd work gives me a chance to be different. Crowd work gives me a chance to break away from my act, and that's always a little exciting for the performer when you're doing something different, and it works.
Yeah. And you seem comfortable doing it. I mean, I've seen you in improv shows, not the same form.
Yeah, I'm comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
There was one comedian, Jake Johansson. I'm a fan of his.
Yeah.
Somebody asked him about crowd work, and somebody said, Ed asked him, "You're really good at crowd work," and he goes, "Yeah, I don't like doing it." He goes, "But you're so good at it," and he goes, "Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you want to do.
Fair enough.
You want to do it."
Yeah.
Because being a stand-up some comics live for crowd work. That's their thing. They live for crowd work. They love going off the crowd and all that, and more power to them. I've got my set that I've worked on, and maybe if something pops up, that's fine. But I more or less I work with my set. I do the improv, the comedy sports, that gives me a chance to go off script and stuff like that. And I give kudos to comedy sports. All that off the top of the head stuff is from comedy sports. Working,
makes you quicker. Yeah. Now, you came here in '99. Did you start doing comedy sports and stand up at the same time?
No, I started doing stand up first, actually, and then I saw the ad in what's the Houston
Chronicle?
Paper? No, the one the
Press.
hippie paper.
Free Press.
Yeah.
Houston. There's another. I work at Houston Press. It might be Press, but I don't know.
The Houston Press.
Yeah.
There was an ad in the back. That's to audition for comedy sports.
Next to all the lingerie ads.
Yeah, next
the
to
strip
all
clubs.
the lingerie and the strip clubs and the escorts.
There's a picture of just Diana, just like,
Yes.
"Hello, be clean with me."
Well, I missed. That was back then. They had 2 auditions in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So they would do one. They would do one week, and then they'd cull the herd, and then they'd call everybody back in the second week, and then take from there. Well, I missed the first week, so I called, and they said, "You know what? Just come to the second week." I'm like, okay. So I called, and I think I broke every improv rule in the book. Questions and denials. I think I did all. I think I did just about everything wrong.
And you were new at this, right?
I've never done. I saw Whose Line on
with Drew Carey.
No, Whose Line from England.
Oh,
Clive
okay.
Anderson.
Gotcha.
This was before it was on ABC. So this was when I was watching it on Comedy Central from London.
Okay. Yeah.
From England. So that's what. And I did it, and I'll tell you this: comedy sports is the only gig I've ever gotten through an audition. So apparently I can't audition well. All the gigs I usually get are from word of mouth or from clips and stuff like that. So a week or so passed, and I call the comedy sports number, and I say, "Yeah, this is Scott White. I auditioned. I'm wondering if you guys have made a decision yet, because I've had an offer to join another troupe, and I'd really like to join you guys, but if you guys aren't going to take me, I'll take this other gig." Totally untrue.
Totally true. Okay, there you go. I was like, that's a good line.
Later that day, Diana calls me and says, "We want you to come into the troupe." So that was it. So my bluff worked. I don't know if my bluff worked or not. So.
Well, that's very good. So you started at Comedy Sports. Where were they back then?
Lambert Hall.
Okay.
Lambert Hall.
And how long were they there once you joined?
Well, maybe Lambert Hall. I'm guessing about 6 years.
Okay.
Because then we moved into our space at 901, and then yeah.
I'll give very little exposition because everyone who listens to this probably knows Comedy Sports. But Comedy Sports is the short form improv group in Houston, run by Diana Dulaney. Had many guests from there on the show. Who was there when you started? That's still there now.
Chris Craig, Diana see, Peter Turin, Carlo Minotti. I think that's about it.
Steph?
No, Steph was gone at that time. She was in Chicago at that time.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I didn't become friends with Steph until she moved back from Chicago. So at that time, when I was in Comedy Sports, she was still in Chicago.
Okay, so when you started Comedy Sports, did you do like the training? Did you
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that?
There was like 4 or 5 of us, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy going to practices. It's amazing how much you don't know that you think you know. But it was a good experience for me. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to Wednesdays going to practice and stuff like that. And then when I got to go with the rest of the troupe, that was great.
Now, how did you like working clean and the structure of Comedy Sports, which can be kind of...
If you can work clean, working clean, I think is fabulous.
Yeah.
Brian Regan is one of the funniest people out there, one of my favorite comics. There's a difference between working clean. There's a difference between working clean and working funny clean. A lot of comics get work just because they're clean.
Yeah.
And they're not that funny. If you can be clean and funny, you can write your own ticket.
Yeah.
You can do corporate gigs, you can do churches, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You can do comedy clubs, you can do cruise ships. Same thing with Christian comics. There's a lot of Christian comics who are just Christian comics, and and they're not funny. If you're a funny Christian comic, if you're a funny clean comic, you can write your own ticket in show business.
Yeah. And your stand-up is not clean.
No.
Was there ever a temptation like, I'd like to have my own ticket?
I try to write. I try to write stuff, and it always ends with and then her vagina blew up. There was pushy juice everywhere.
What are the things you like to talk about in your stand-up?
I talk about being single in my 40s.
Yeah.
And all my friends are married with kids and stuff like that. So it's a different. It's a different lifestyle than most of my friends have. Most of my friends are married with children, or divorced with children.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm living a 20-year-old's life in a 40-year-old body.
Yeah.
Which is awful.
What is it when you go up there? Are you telling personal stories? Are you doing jokes?
There's personal stories that are embellished.
Okay.
I would say 80% of my act are actual stories that have happened to me or maybe a friend that I have adopted to myself. I always find it's easier to do comedy if I am the subject. I'm not going to offend anybody if I am the subject of the jokes. Nobody's going to get offended by that. I'm not going to offend myself. So I always find if I'm the subject of the jokes, and if the audience can relate to the jokes, they're gonna enjoy it that much more. So I try to do relatable comedy based on stuff that has happened to me or people I've known, and it's embellished, slightly embellished at some point. Sometimes it doesn't need to be embellished. Sometimes stuff really happened that I don't need to embellish, but a lot of time embellishment will help.
How personal are you willing to get on stage?
What I talk about. My failure as a lover. I talk about getting old and growing alone old. I'm not Dr. Filling it up there. I'm not. I do if I think it's funny, I'm gonna say it. I get up there and talk about having a small penis, and I get up there and talking about not being a very good lover, and I get up there and talk about turning women. I'll turn to a young woman in the crowd. I'm like, "How old are you?" And she's like, "I'm 20." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty fucking gross, ain't I? 45?" And they're like, "Yeah." So, I think a comedian needs to be self-aware.
Yeah.
He or she has to know themselves. And if you go up there thinking something different than who you are, it's not gonna play. It's not gonna come off to the crowd. So, and if anything, I'm very self-aware.
Yeah. Hyper-aware, maybe.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
So,
have you ever found yourself going too dark or too personal for an audience for their liking?
There's been I've said a couple of off the cuff stuff that maybe the audience didn't really enjoy or stuff like that. I've never, like I said, I've never gone too personal with the cry, the inner child and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't. Some comics think it's great to take an audience there and then bring them back to comedy. I'm not of that mind. If that's what you do, that's fine. I'm not. Yeah, these people are here to laugh and be entertained, so I'm here to make them laugh and entertain them. That's my goal. I'm not really I don't really push my views on people either. And once again, some comics do, and that's fine. But that's not my thing. Mm-hmm. It's to let these people know what I think.
Yeah. Is that an intentional choice? You don't want to offend a group or a side of a party or whatever?
It's well, you're going to offend somebody with something. Yeah. I do a pedophile joke in my act, and somebody say, I really enjoyed your show except for that pedophile joke. Well, I'm not going to take the one joke out because one person is offended.
You can put that on a T-shirt.
Yes. The story behind the pedophile joke. I do this pedophile joke, and this lady came up and said, I didn't really enjoy the pedophile joke, and I told the owner of the club, and he goes, "Ow! You got a nice pedophile joke." So I have a nice pedophile joke. I should put that on. I have a nice
funny.
Pedophile
Put that
joke.
on ScottyBlanco.com.
Yes, I have a nice pedophile joke.
How do you deal with hecklers? Surely
it depends on the hecklers.
Yeah.
There's different kinds of hecklers. There's the enthusiastic heckler who wants to. They're not. They just want. They're happy to be there, and they're exuberant.
They're helping.
They're helping.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just did air quotes on radio. Yeah.
That training paid off from college.
Yeah, they're helping. Yeah. And then so you don't want to really put them in their place because they're not really being a bad person. They're just exuberant. And they're happy to be there. It's like, okay, calm down. Yeah. Well, first of all, the club should take care of hecklers in the first place. If somebody's getting out of control, the club should be in charge of that and getting rid of them and taking them out. If they're way out of control, like I said, if it's an exuberant person, just like, hey, okay, if somebody's being an asshole, I'll go right at them, and I'll just be an asshole right back. And if somebody's being an asshole, the crowd knows it, and the crowd's on the comic side. If you pick on somebody who's not doing anything, then the crowd turns against you, and once again, you're making it harder on yourself with the crowd. So.
Yeah.
I don't usually do a mean streak at a person unless they deserve it. Uh-huh. If somebody's being exuberant or if somebody's talking too loud, you just want to make, okay, we're up here. You give them a couple of warnings and then something has to be done.
Mm-hmm. You have such a great controlled rage. I think that's fun. You really can get mad, but
I go on. I have to have a controlled rage because my fake rage is comical. So when I go off, and sometimes I'll go off, but it's a comical rage, and the audience sees that as well, and they know that I'm not being. You can pretty much tell anybody. This was advice I gave to someone. You can pretty much tell anybody anything if you do it with a smile.
Uh-huh.
If you make fun of somebody but with a smile on your face, okay, it's all in good nature. We're not going to get upset.
Yeah. Okay, I want to compare and contrast. What goes through your mind when you're going on stage for a stand-up set versus going on stage for an improv set?
If I'm going on stage for an improv set, I got 3 or 4 people who got my back. Mm-hmm. If I'm going on stage for stand-up, it's just me. I'm out there fending for my life. So it's just me. Mm-hmm. I'm the one carrying... I'm carrying this 45 minutes. Yeah. It's on my shoulders, so I have to do this myself. Mm. Which sometimes gets in the way when I do improv. I have to realize I have to leave room for other people. It's not just me. It's not just who's that coming with the steamroller? It's Scott to take over the scene. So I find myself, I ref better being a stand-up because I can do crowd work and control the crowd better. I feel I'm a better ref than I am a player.
Yeah?
Yes, because as a this is great. I'm selling myself here. As an improv player, I'm very one-dimensional. I don't do characters. And I don't do accents. I do me, which is fine. But
you as a 3D character, that you have that at least going for you.
Yes, me as. And I have to realize, okay, everybody has something to contribute to the scene. Don't take over the scene. Everybody has something to contribute. Listen to what people are contributing and play off that. So, and I also know if I fail in improv, I've got somebody to get. I've got people who are gonna got my back.
Yeah. Well, when you're drowning in stand-up, how do you deal with it going badly? If it does. I don't want to assume here.
I recently had one of the worst shows of my life. It was back in August. It was in a casino. We were in the orchestra pit, and we were in I don't know. It was just nothing. These people did not want to be here. It was just one of the you have to just something in your brain clicks. It's just like automatic pilot. I'm just going to get through this. I'm just going to do what I have to do, and then I'm going to leave. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes what I do is comment on the night as it's going. Wow, you people just don't want to hear anything from you. So, did you guys come from a few? Hey, what is this? An audience or an oil painting?
Yeah.
That's when it's work. When that's when you have to switch it off in your head. It's like, okay, nobody's getting this. Nobody wants to be here. I don't want to be here. Mm-hmm. So just go into. You got to be professional. You've got to finish. That's what you're getting paid for. So you just do what you do, and you get off and you go.
Yeah. Do you ever? Does that hurt? I mean, are you upset about it?
It used to hurt when I first started. Mm-hmm. Now I've done it so often where I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of. I know that I'm a professional stand-up comic. Yeah. This is what I do. So if if something happens where the audience just doesn't dig you, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. The next night I had one of the best shows of my life.
You just turn around like that.
It turned around. It was one of the best, and it was a show where I went off script a lot. It was talking to the audience and stuff like that.
And it just went right.
It just went right. It just everything fell into place. It was one of those where I wish I had that set on tape.
Yeah.
So
how does that feel when you're kind of riding the energy of the room?
When you're riding energy, it feels very, very good.
Yeah.
It's just like these people are getting it, and they're giving me energy, and I'm giving them energy right back.
Yeah. Are you present for it? I know some people are kind of out of it when they're on stage. They're a different guy.
No. I'm the same. I mean, I'm the same guy on stage as I am all the time. I mean, I'm much more boisterous on stage. I'm much more profane on stage. Mm-hmm. I'm much more louder on stage than I am off stage. I don't know if you want to call it a character, but it's just who I am on stage.
It's a heightened you.
It's a heightened me. Yes, that's very. I don't leave my body. I don't look down on myself. I don't do any of that shit.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? You've worked with people that are like, I don't know I wasn't me out there. I've heard people say that in improv scenes, and I don't know if stand-up's the same way, but I've definitely I've
heard people say, I was off tonight.
Yeah. Now, as a working road comic, what is your day like? Do you travel? Are you driving the car? Are you going with other people?
I drive most of the time. Mm-hmm. I drive by myself most of the time. I occasionally fly when I have to, but most of it's on the road.
Do you cover that, or does the people booking?
No, I have to cover that. I have to cover travel. The heyday of the '80s, everything was covered. Those days are long gone. Mm-hmm. So I have to cover my travel. They will cover. They'll put me up either in a hotel or a comedy condo.
A comedy condo.
And
What are those things like? I
It
hear about
depends
them,
on where you go. Some of them are very nice. Some of them are not. I think clubs are finally coming around to where the comedy condos are getting nicer.
Mm.
But the one in Toronto was very nice, but in the comedy condo, it's all these people have come before you in the rooms and stuff like that. So
You're finding past comics clothes everywhere and stuff.
oh yeah, well, I was in a condo and I opened the drawer and there was a pack of condoms, a bottle of lotion, and a fake thumb. That sums up a comedy condo right there.
That's perfect.
Condoms, lotion, and a fake thumb.
Yeah. So you're traveling to a new town. Say you're doing, I don't know, a weekend in San Antonio or 4 days in San Antonio. How do you feel the time when you're not on the show or driving?
Well, I don't have cable in my place.
Yeah.
So I'll watch television. I'll catch up on ESPN and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, I like thrift stores, so I'll find a thrift store, or I like collecting comedy records. So I have a pretty extensive collection of comedy records. So I like maybe find record stores.
You should do that, man. I do that too. I'd love to see
and check those out. So.
Yeah, that's fun. When are you interested in doing other things besides, like, are you interested in writing stuff? Are you interested in?
I would like to write I'd like to write a book or something like that. Not a memoir.
Yeah.
I think there's way too many of those out there. I don't what.
And they're hit or miss majorly.
Yeah, what that chick from the Mindy Project? Do we really want to hear from her?
Yeah.
Honestly, Colin Mockery wrote a book, which I recently read, and I believe it's called Almost the Classics.
Okay.
And he takes the first line and last line of classic novels, and then he fills in the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Moby Dick. Call Me Ishmael. Wow. Wow. So I got so he starts it off. Yeah, I got to show you. So yeah, Ish had a short so
That's a cool idea.
It is a cool idea.
Yeah.
I would like to write something that is not because in the foreword, Colin Mockery brings up, it's just like I had a good upbringing. I've got a wife. I've got a kid. I'm pretty stable. I don't really have. That's how it is with me. I have had a boring life for the most part. I've never been on a drug binge. I've never slept under a bridge. I've never dated Katy Perry. So, one of the three people who haven't. So I don't have tales to tell about that. But
yeah.
I would like to write something fictional and fun. Bill Maher wrote a great book, and I can't remember the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about stand-up. And reading it was very eye-opening. He hit a lot of the stuff about, you'll enjoy the book, but if you're a stand-up, you're going to enjoy it a lot more.
I'll look it up.
Look that up. But he said, I didn't want to write a biography, and I think this might have been before he was got into all his political stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's certainly not a lack of books about stand-up comedy out there.
No.
The one I like is Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up.
Up is a very good book.
That's a great book.
He is quoted. He has one of the most famous quotes in all of comedy, which is, "Why did you stop doing stand-up?" And his answer was, "Second show Friday." and I think just about every stand-up comic knows that quote. So.
I'm looking Bill Maher. Yeah, a lot of stuff on his movie Religulous, which was certainly provocative. Who are the comedians that you like? Like, who do you actively seek out? You said Brian Regan.
Brian Regan, Jake Johansson is very funny. Norm Macdonald is a very funny stand. I mean, he's so dry.
Mm-hmm. His stand-up is amazing.
His stand-up is amazing. And he has very small hands.
Have you met him?
I have not met him,
Yeah.
but I see him. He has very small hands. I think he has very, very small hands. Bobcat Goldthwait is a very funny comic. He's one of the few big names that deliver, because you'll get Screech from Saved by the Bell, and he's awful, and a lot of these comics who are not comics, who are washed up television or
Sure,
movie stars
sure.
trying to make a buck.
I'm thinking of one specifically you told me about.
Was
Steve-O.
Steve-O,
Yeah.
Well, I worked with Steve-O, and the audience, what he did, the audience loved.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't want to say he didn't do stand-up, because whatever you do, whatever's in your mind. So,
Yeah.
what he did, the audience loved him, and he was a nice guy, and he did what he did, and what he did very well.
Mm.
So, but the old, the Carlins and Pryor. I think comedians respect the past more than maybe singers do or actors do. I don't think a lot.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I don't think a lot of actors know who came, but I'm not generally. I'm just generalizing. But singers especially.
It changes so much.
Yeah, I think I think comedians pay tribute to the people who came before them, maybe a little better than people in other aspects of show business.
Yeah. Well, because comedy, it changes superficially, but at its core, a lot of it's the same through
Right.
the Carlin stuff now would still be great.
Right.
Did you see that they named George Carlin Way?
Yes.
I think there's, a Catholic church there
Yeah.
on his street? That's the best.
Yes, he would. I think he would have loved that.
I'm looking up Bill Maher's book. Is it True Story, a novel?
True story, a novel.
True
Yes.
Story, a novel. 1994, so that was definitely before
Yes.
Politically Correct.
That is about, and he talks about stand-ups and open micers and all that, and he captured the life perfectly in that book. So if you want a fictional account of a stand-up life, read that.
I gotta check that out.
I highly recommend that book.
True Story, a novel. Now, when you do run into these guys that are they weren't stand-ups and now they're doing stand-up. A lot of TV stars do this. How do you take that? Is it like
Everybody has a right to make money.
Yeah.
I posted this earlier. We always get these lists of comics who aren't funny, and it's Carlos Mencia, Dane Cook, Larry the Cable Guy, Carrot Top.
Same people every time.
It's the same people. Every once in a while they'll throw in new people.
Yeah.
They have a right to make money. They have a right to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I would not, I may not like what they do, but I'm not going to say Larry the Cable, hunt down and kill Larry the Cable Guy just because he's making a living. Everybody in this country has a right to make a living.
Yeah.
And we as the public, we give them that living.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you just concentrate on people like that, it's just just let it go.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody out there. I know, quote unquote, no name comics who are very funny, and for some reason or another, they have not made it to the point of these other people who you may feel don't have the same amount of talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be that way in every profession.
Mm-hmm.
Just let these people make money, and you just do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And and never, you can never. Never take the right of somebody's to make a living. You can't take that away from them.
Yeah. And if people want to give them money to
If
see
people
them,
want to give them money, people are going to give them money.
Yeah.
Novice, and how long they can do it's. I always have this old saying: nobody's ever going to see Pauly Shore twice. Nobody's ever going to say, "Let's go see Pauly Shore again." But if people want to go out and see Pauly Shore and give him his money, then that's their prerogative, and let them do it. So
yeah, the novelty will wear off.
The
at some
novelty
point.
will wear. I mean, the novelty, yes, will wear
Yeah.
off, and the gigs will keep getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, yeah. I want to throw something at you. I don't know if this is true, but it's my perception. It seemed like in the older days that it was like there were the comics, the talent, and then there were these bookers who had at the clubs or had the venues. And it seems like now more comics are booking other comics in festivals.
That
is this true?
That is what. Because they were just getting tired of not getting calls returned and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Because you have like the Funny or Die, which Will Ferrell and Adam McKay are at the top of
Yes.
that, and you have like locally there's the Come and Take It Fest, which is a bunch of Houston comics putting the thing together, and John Lovitz is a comedy club, and Brad Garrett. These people.
Well, I auditioned for the Seattle Comedy Club. I got in, but I couldn't make it because of the dates. But that's run by a comic. A lot of the clubs in Toronto, the Absolute Comedy clubs, are owned and run by a comic, Jason Lawrence.
Okay.
So, and he books his own talent. So a lot of comics they just got tired of dealing with bookers. A booker story that I always like to tell is I got a date from a booker one time, and I said, "Great, I've got it in my book. I have family in that area, so if you could throw anything else in there around that time, that would be great." They emailed me back. "So what you're saying is you don't need a room?" Nope, that's not what I'm saying at all. So they were actually they're trying to take just trying to take more away than give.
Yeah.
So.
Anything human, any contact is like, I see the angle here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that make it makes it easier when a comic's booking you? Does it change the way like you interact with them when they're in charge of it?
A comic knows, and what I was saying earlier about Larry the Cable Guy, they all put in their dues. They all played shitty clubs, and they all put in their dues to get to where they're at.
Yeah.
There really isn't even with Last Comic Standing, there really isn't a overnight sensation.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the people who have won Last Comic Standing were doing it for years and years before they got the stuff.
Yeah.
So comics know what other comics have been through. Comics know that they played the shitty bars, and comics know they have played the biker bars, and comics know that there's not a lot of money in this unless you reach another tier.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is easier to deal with comics than bookers. Bookers, it's all business. Bookers will book comics that are not funny, just to save money, or what. The bookers will dilute the product with poorer comics because it's easier for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think if a comic is booking a room, they want the best quality possible for their room.
Yeah.
So they will not book somebody who is not ready, or they will not book somebody who they don't feel is funny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's. I think a lot of bookers don't really take that into consideration. They take in the business more than the personal.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have an agent or a manager or something?
No. I book myself for my gigs.
So you're able to do that. That seems like to get all the gigs you get yourself.
Yes.
Well, what's the process? Do you send them a video?
A lot of the gigs
they know you.
Yeah, a lot of the gigs I get now are through clubs that I've already worked.
Mm-hmm.
So they know me, and it's just being put on the rotation.
Mm-hmm. You
don't want to go back too soon. You don't want so.
Yeah.
Most clubs put you on a 14 to 16 month rotation.
Okay. So you'll see a place every year and a half or so.
Yes.
Well, very cool. We've touched a lot of stuff. Is there advice you would give to young comics? Things you see that you're like, learn something. Don't do that.
I would say stick around for don't do your set and leave. Mm-hmm. Stick around, watch the shows. I don't really have. When I first said don't come in and do shtick and stuff like that, but if you have a ask older comics questions and stuff like that. Feel free to do that. I've never run into any headliner who has refused to answer a question of a newbie or something. I think a lot of most comics are very generous with their time and their wisdom, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So, and whether they just decide to take it or not, that's up to them.
Have you ever considered leaving Houston? Why do you stay in Houston?
Actually, I stay in Houston because of Comedy Sports.
Really?
Yes. I'm a road comic, so I can live anywhere and do comedy. The boat has sailed. I think the boat has sailed on me breaking into movies or television or something. I think I'm just too old for that. So, and I don't want to go to LA and live like a 19-year-old in the hand to mouth.
Yeah.
Like that. So,
yeah.
If something happened where somebody saw me and they wanted me to go to LA, then I would do that. But I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there on my own and hope something happens.
Scott White, I represent Hollywood. I'd like to take you on and put you in the movies,
yes.
in the pictures.
Yeah. You know what you have, kid? You know what we're going to make, kid? Take out the kid? We're going to make a fortune. That's what we're going to make together.
You got Moxie.
You got
kid.
Moxie, kid.
Well, Scott White, this has been so much fun. Anything you want to promote? Future gigs are coming up soon?
I'll be in San Antonio the week of the 12th to the 16th. I'll be doing a split week. I'll be headlining on Wednesday and Thursday, and then I will be headlining for John Reap, the Hemi guy, from the old Hemi commercials.
Sure.
Website, scottyblanco.com.
That's a fun site.
It needs to be updated, though.
I went on it and I scoured. There's a bunch of great old videos. Some you directed, some you're in, it's good stuff.
I'm on Twitter at ScottWhite91. I have 180 followers, so I'd like to get 20 more followers so 200 people ignore what I'm writing. There's this note in here, on-air content from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. cannot contain cursing or curse words. And I would just like the person at 4:59 seconds, fuck you! And then here's the rest of your broadcast day.
All right, Scott, thank you so much for being here,
Thanks
man.
for having me, Vic.
This is great. You're real welcome back anytime, man.
Thank you very
Do
much.
something good. All
Hail Satire with Vic Shetty. Hail Satire with Vic Shetty. Jazz.